this is a story that almost nobody would know about, and yet it's a true story. And I'm not going to say what city or who the equipment manager was, or actually it was the towel guy. Oh. So because he might not appreciate it and he might sue me. So I'm just going to tell that this is a true story. And it's got all sorts of kind of interesting pieces to it. So this goes back to 1978. I was playing in 77, 78. I was playing with the Houston Aeros, and we were on a road game. And what happens is, like during a practice, there's just all sorts of wash that has to be done. Like, so what happens is, and so if we played somewhere else the night before and then we came into a city, a lot of times all the wet underwear, none of it got washed. So it would get thrown into these hockey bags. And when we would get into the new city, the trainers would go straight to the arena while we would go to the hotel to get some sleep. They would go and unpack all the hockey equipment. Like, the trainers are amazing. Yeah. So they would unpack all the hockey equipment. They would get all the underwear washed so it'd be ready for the next day. And plus they would get all the hockey jerseys washed. And so that when we would come to the dressing room, everything would be hung up. And we'd have fresh underwear. We'd have our practice jerseys would get washed. And the game jerseys. So everything was ready to roll. Now what would happen is, so there would be guys in the visiting city that would meet our trainers, our equipment guys, and they would help them. So this happened in every city. And so what happens is, so it was the morning, like we'd played on the road, we got to this city, and so we had a morning skate. And I was typically one of the last guys off the ice after a practice or after a morning skate. And so what happened, I was one of the last guys in the restroom. I was just getting out of my equipment. And our equipment guy in Houston, his name was Bobby Kincaid. And he was a real redneck Texan. And he was a very, very friendly guy. Although when he lost his temper. He had a heck of a temper. And so it ends up that I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden Bobby comes in the dressing room, and he's got this other guy with him. And he is saying, I know you've got it. I know you've got that jersey. Give it back to me. And the other guy, the equipment guy, or the towel guy, that helped with all the getting everything washed. Because what happened is we'd get to the city, and this towel boy, he'd get the bags, and he'd take all the underwear and throw them in the washers, get all the jerseys, throw them in the washers. And so Bobby Kincaid, our equipment guy, was just yelling at him. He says, I know you've got that jersey. Give it back to me. Give that jersey back. And he says, honest, he says, I do not have it. This other guy, the towel boy, he says, I haven't got it. I don't know what happened to it. And Bobby says, well, last night that jersey got put in the wash. Where's it today? He says, I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. And so what had happened is Gordie's jersey had disappeared. Oh, my gosh. So that night, Gordie actually played with, I believe they managed to get a jersey, but they had to actually pin his name bar on it. So it didn't look 100% professional, because the name bar was kind of sticking up because it wasn't sewn all the way around. And but anyway, so
what number did he wear?
I believe he wore number 9 that night.
He did wear number 9. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Although I'm not 100% sure about that. Bobby Kincaid would know for sure if we ever wanted to give him a call. So it ended up that so that was just the way that finished off. And then Houston ended up folding that year, and it ended up that that's when 7 players from the Houston Aeros got purchased by the Winnipeg Jets of the World Hockey Association. And so we ended up relocating to Winnipeg. And the guys that were in that deal there was myself, Terry Wiskowski, Rich Preston, Scott Campbell, John Gray, Steve West, and Paul Travanci. So we ended up relocating them. So this is about 3 months into the season, and we're back in that city playing another road game again. And we had played somewhere the night before, so this whole thing again, we show up into the city. Our equipment guy turns all the bags of underwear and jerseys over to this towel guy to get washed.
What, same guy?
It was the same guy, but different. Our trainer is different. Instead of Bobby Kincaid, in Winnipeg, we had a guy from New Westminster, BC, and his name was Kelly Pruden. And Kelly had been the trainer for the Estevan Bruins in the Western Hockey League and the New Westminster Bruins in the Western Hockey League before he had landed a job with the Winnipeg Jets in the World Hockey Association. So there I am. It's the end of the pre-morning skate, and I'm literally the last guy in the room. And son of a gun, if it isn't deja vu all over again, Kelly comes in and he is screaming at this guy. He says, "I know you got it." He says, "That jersey was there last night when I loaded those jerseys into the wash. That jersey was there." And he says, and this guy says, "I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happened to it." And Kelly says, "I know you stole it. I know you got it. Give it back." And the guy says, "I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happened to it." And so it ends up that jersey that got stolen was Bobby Hull's.
Oh, he picked good players, this guy.
Yeah, so it ended up that Bobby had to play with a different jersey that night. And somehow Kelly, I think, was a little bit better prepared than Bobby Kincaid with Houston. And Kelly was able to get a jersey replacement, or maybe he had one. And so there wasn't like Bobby's jersey looked 100% that night. But I remember Gordie's had to be, they pinned his name tag on, like his name bar.
Yeah.
So, and it did not look 100%. You could see the edges were curled up. And but anyway, so this happens twice. So years later, it ends up, I happen to be in this city, and I somehow run into this towel boy, this towel guy, who's now, he's about 15 years older. So it ends up, we go for lunch. And I was in this, I'm not wanting to name the city. No. So it ends up that, but I was in this city, and it ends up that, so we ended up getting together for lunch. So we get chatting or whatever. And it ends up that what comes up is that he has this incredible collection of hockey sticks, hockey pucks, and hockey jerseys.
Wow.
And so this has happened in more than one city. This also happened in Winnipeg, where the towel boys, just young guys, who would ask for Bobby Hull's stick and autograph, or just at the right time they would get a stick, or they would collect pucks. They ended up with collections that were incredible, absolutely incredible, and worth millions.
Wow. So
it ends up this guy, we're having lunch, and somehow we get talking about, he brings us up and we get talking about this, and supposedly he has been offered like $5 million by a collector in New York for his collection. And his collection is, if I remember somewhere around, he had something like 600 hockey sticks, 800 pucks.
Wow. That's a big collection.
And about 250 jerseys.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was an incredible collection. And I said, well, wow, so you're a millionaire. So here's the towel boy. Ends up being the millionaire, while the rest of us who were out on the ice killing ourselves, we didn't make the millions. It ends up he makes the millions.
He sold the collection or no?
So he hadn't sold it at that time. So I asked, well, how come you haven't sold it? He says, well, because he thinks it's worth a lot more. So he's going to hang on to it for a little bit longer. And he said he was also waiting for when Wayne Gretzky would be finished his career, because he felt then that it would be even of more value then, because he had a number of Gretzky items. So the thing is, so we were sitting there, and I said, well, cheaper, so where is it? And he says, well, I've got it in a whole bunch of trunks at my home. And I said, well, wow, you got to make sure that that's insured and all that. And he said, well, yeah, he says, it's safe. And I said, you know what, what about putting it on exhibition? Like you could put it somewhere out in public where people could come and look at it, and like they could pay $10 or whatever to see this collection.
Yeah.
Like you could probably make a lot of money from this.
Yeah.
And he says, well, yeah, he says I said, wow, this one place would be perfect. Like if you were to put it there, like you would get thousands of people looking at this. Like you could make a heck of a lot of money off it right now while you're waiting for it to go up in value. And what a treat it would be for hockey fans. He says, yeah. He says, you know what? No, I don't think I'm going to do that. And then so I went, oh, okay. So I was then later, I was thinking, well, like, why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And the reason is because he had a whole lot of stolen property.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like in that collection, and I remember I asked him, wow, like, so do you happen to have Gordie's jersey? Do you happen to have Bobby's jersey? And he says, yeah.
You knew him though. You knew him before, right? You knew that he was a towel boy, right?
I knew, yeah, because it was in the dress.
But did you knew that he stole, or you didn't know at that time?
No, at times I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and so I was believing him that he when he was saying that no, he hadn't taken them, and he was so adamant. He was absolutely so adamant that he had not taken them, and so but then I said, wow, like. I said, like, whose jerseys do you have? And he was naming jerseys, and I said, do you happen to have Gordie's jersey? Oh, yeah. Do you happen to have Bobby's jersey? Oh, yeah.
Did he have yours?
Pardon me?
Did he have yours?
No.
Oh, none?
No. I wasn't big enough shot.
So he only collected, like, certain guys, or he just got whatever he could get?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, he didn't tell you
what his collection. All I know is that when I asked about some of the jerseys he had, and... but he had Bobby and he had Gordie. But so, anyways, here he had stolen these jerseys. Yeah. So it was, but it was amazing, because the second time it happened, it was like deja vu all over again. Like literally, I was just undoing my skates, and it was like time repeating itself. And the trainer yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
I know you have stolen it. I know you got it. Give it back. And no, I haven't got it. No, I haven't. I don't know what happened to it. It was like the exact conversation.
Wow.
Over twice.
Wow.
Yeah. And then to find out years later that he has this collection, and then he refuses to put it on display.
Yeah. Because of
many of the stolen items in it.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. If you like this channel, click down below to subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.